Hello and welcome to another edition of Lifting Lowdown, the bi-weekly industry podcast brought to you by Lift Hoist International. My name is Guy Harris and I'm the publisher of LHI, the magazine servicing the global industrial lifting sector. This is the first episode of 2021 and I would like to take the opportunity to wish our listeners a very happy and healthy new year. Regular listeners will know that this podcast does not take the format of a straightforward interview, but invites industry representatives to openly discuss leading topics in a relaxed and friendly manner. In this episode, we will be discussing automation and the changing face of the lifting sector. Arguably, industrial lifting hasn't been revolutionised in years, generations even. Now, with the advent of automation, the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, that is changing. Meanwhile, training practices and recruitment of the next generation of skilled workers are challenges all companies will need to address in coming years. To tackle this complex and exciting topic, I am joined as usual by my regular cohort Richard Howes of Bridger Howes, a PR and consultancy firm prevalent in the lifting and materials handling sectors. Also joining us today is Peter Stipan, Global Director for Columbus McKinnon's Automation Division. Peter is widely recognised for his passion and ability in global process improvement and automation. Peter's expertise spans some 30 years' experience in overhead cranes, starting as a marine and industrial electrician to leading development, engineering and quality teams in inverter drive design and advanced automation applications. Prior to joining Magnatech, Columbus McKinnon, Peter held significant roles at Rockwell Automation, ABB Medium Voltage Drives, Infineon Technologies and LEM Current Sensors. Peter is a Purdue graduate and he holds several patents and has even published books on high temperature semiconductors and electronic packaging, reliability and failure analysis, with safety as his top value. Peter is also Six Sigma Black Belt certified. Welcome to Lifting Lowdown, guys. I'll start by saying welcome back, Rich, and Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Everyone I've said that to so far has just kind of laughed at me, though. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, no, it's good to be back. And we've got, I think it's important to look forward, isn't it, in everything we're doing at the moment, lights at the end of tunnels and all that. So, and I think you've picked a very forward-looking topic of conversation for us to start the year. So I'm looking forward to hearing what Peter has got to say on it.
Well, as am I. And Peter, a very warm welcome to Lifting Lowdown to you, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Guy, and thank you, Richard. It's my pleasure and honor to be here.
Well, we feel honoured to have you on board, so thank you, and a Happy New Year to you too.
Happy New Year.
Okay, I mean, this is such a changing and large topic, I guess. I mean, I would like to start by asking you, in your opinion, I mean, are we looking at evolution over revolution?
Well, within automation, it's changing every day and it's growing more and more each day. Over the past 10 years, it's been a magnitude of growth, and that has been fueled by a lot of revolutionary ideas. Right now, we're evolving within our team, Columbus McKinnon, and I know that the rest of the world is looking at automation in different views, almost like political views, right? How is it? Is this the way to go, or is it not the way to go? But I know it's the fastest growing segment within our industry.
Absolutely. I mean, and what is driving this, do you feel? I mean, my understanding is control technology is really at the heart of the crane automation revolution. And if that is right, you know, what is driving this forward? For example, is it an increased need for precision lifting, or is it a need for increased speed, or is it a health and safety standpoint over anything else? What are your feelings? What's your take on this?
Well, Guy, we have an expression here. We say, hey, what's up? You know, SUP is SUP. And what people are trying to do within our industry is improve the safety, that's the S part, of all the operations of their facility. They're looking at uptime. We used to call it downtime, but that's kind of negative. So when you have an unscheduled downtime, it's just incredibly costly. And then we have productivity. So SUP, safety, uptime, and productivity. And that's basically driving the industry in a new direction. And we've heard the word smart forever. Like I've smart technology, smartphone. Well, how about a smart crane or a smart hoist or smart maintenance or smart operations? That's what we're applying today in automation technology.
Got you. Rich?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting subject because it's kind of, I don't know what it's in parallel to, I guess, to some very, very basic principles of lifting, isn't it? In terms of up, down, through the air, and gravity being what it was when they built the pyramids. So and I think it's that kind of myth that gives our industry a little bit of a bad name, doesn't it? Because it's kind of seen as very old school, very basic. But what we're talking about here isn't only the kind of changing face of the crane industry, but industry generally, and that what I'm excited about in this, and when we might come to it with Peter, is that it makes our industry incredibly appealing, doesn't it, to young dynamic people, very bright tech people. So I'm certainly interested to see where that goes. But I just want to press you again, Peter, on the driving forces behind this, because capacity and speed have got to be drivers in this, because in all sectors of our industry at the moment, I'm just seeing lifts now at speed and precision and capacity way beyond what we could have even dreamed of even a short time ago. Is that a fair comment?
Yes, it is a fair comment. I worked for an automation company for 21 years, and we've emphasized what we call quality speed. At Columbus McKinnon, we have many automotive customers, right? And we all like fast cars and fast trucks, but they like to produce them quickly and error-free, right? So one key that we are doing is looking at, of course, crane technology and hoist technology above the plant floor, but we're also looking at below the plant floor or on the plant floor or in the office or in your home. Guy wants to look at the hoist that's operating in a factory that is a country away, 2 countries away, a world away. And we're doing that today with this technology. Increased speed. I know that we have it's called ProPath, but people look at auto dispatch, right? I mean, if you are familiar with what that is, an operator needs to have, like, say, an engine married with a transmission. And they will take that engine and they will have it come off the line, they'll retrieve it, they'll press a button, and it'll automatically dispatch to the next operation where they can marry it with the transmission. And in the meantime, that operator can work on something else while this thing is going all by itself on the factory floor. And we're doing that now with overhead cranes and technologies. And that's one example of speed and getting things done.
Sorry, Guy. No, sorry, Peter. Just to pick up on something there, because this is something I wanted to ask, because I mean, I'm not particularly au fait with this aspect of our industry, as I said before. But I mean, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, looking ahead, are operators going to be able to operate cranes the way that operators operate drones with the same kind of distance? And you've already kind of suggested that that's taking place already. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. We have centers where they're in a room with just multiple screens, video cameras, and outside a train is coming into the factory loaded with steel coils. The train cars come right into the building. The crane retrieves the coils automatically, places them in a coil field in this building, and they stack them sometimes 10 high, and they can retrieve one coil without, the olden days, I stacked 3 coils on top of another coil, and I need the bottom one. Okay. You don't have to do that anymore. It's and by the way, everything is tracked and logged, and the storage and retrieval systems are pretty amazing. But when you look at automation, sometimes it's really strong at the beginning of a process and not strong at an end. So we're trying to look at there's 2 main things that people look at. What is your high value problem? Or what is your high value process? And if you have a high value process, and you put steel into a bucket, molten steel, you don't want that to harden Okay, you want to be able to pour it. So, and you don't want people around this operation anymore, which they used to do this by hand.
Sure.
Now you have it all remote and automated, so the safety aspects are through the roof.
Are some industries more receptive to it, to automation generally than others, Peter? I mean, still's used as a safety kind of case study a lot in our industry in terms of emergency braking systems and safety systems and things like that. So are some industries way ahead of where others are? And if they are, how do you kind of pitch yourself as the crane guys in this, and making sure you're working with your channel partners that you're kind of everywhere you need to be on that curve?
That's a great question, Richard. In every one of our verticals, if it's aerospace, if it's marine ports, automotive, whatever industry we're in, whatever that is, there's certain levels across the board in each one of them. We have seen for many, many years, automotive industry, of course, says, I need to compete better. I need to, and they still employ millions and millions of people. But one example I remember, I want to say 20 years ago, at least, with Toyota, they perfected what they called HIM, is like human integrated manufacturing. And when they were looking at a process to automate, they had many people doing an operation, let's say putting a dashboard into a car. And when they perfected that, then they would apply SIM, the computer integrated manufacturing. But there still wasn't the connectivity. And if you're talking about revolutionary, what's happening in our industry today, and especially in the lift and hoist industry, is connecting the hoist and the lift operation and all the other processes together via a mobile phone or a tablet. I mean, it's pretty incredible.
I mean, that's a good point, isn't it? Because I mean, especially in the automotive sort of manufacturing industry, I mean, companies tend to have different plants in different countries looking after different aspects of production. So they need to have that connectivity, don't they?
Yes, they do. You guys have a blog going on, right? I mean, I listened to a couple blogs in the past with you guys. I'm going to be on a blog with Guy and Richard. It's pretty exciting. You're connecting the people in our industry with other people to say, hey, what's going on out there? And this data exchange, I'll even call it data because we're exchanging data. It's a connection between companies and the machines.
Yeah.
Industries incorporating data into their daily decisions, making these meaningful and productive. Automation exists in the categories, and there's one of the things I say is there's three things I do with my data, Richard and Guy, and I love to have your listeners understand this. Number one, I graph my data. Number two, I graph my data. Number three, I graph my data, okay? And as a black belt, what I do is, you define the problem, then you measure it, and then you analyze the measurements. So right now, we have this happening automatically with our IntelliConnect, for example. It's a technology that basically looks at a drive operation and on real time, and it'll show what's happening with that drive and what's happening with that motor, what's happening with that lift and process. And I have a recent example where a customer was saying, hey, there's something wrong. We're wearing out our brakes, our crane, and there's something else going on. So, you know what, let's be a beta. So they've been a beta for us for over a year on this technology. We love what we call beta sites where customers will get an advanced copy of our equipment. And they actually found that they were wearing out brakes really in a bad way. They always had spare brakes on hand. And if you use our drive and controls, when the bridge and crane stops, when the lift stops, then the brakes engage. You don't use the brakes to stop it. So what we found out, you'd see these glitches on the graph. Their operators were actually hitting an e-stop button.
Wow.
Instead of actually stopping the control, it was e-stop. And they just thought, hey, well, it's an emergency stop. No, it completely bypassed the process in the system. and they notified their operators, hey, you're not supposed to hit these stop.
So that example is a good example for automation to come into our industry.
Exactly, and the connectivity and the real time and the process of making money. When we talked about what companies want automation, or is there some verticals or industries that have automation faster? Look at the businesses, look at the dollars some of these companies are making, and the ones that are automating are making more money. It seems to be that way. And I know you guys talked about earlier about a question of the investment cost of automation.
Yes.
Well, the productivity and the output far outweighs the cost of the operation.
Does that tie in with this being actually good news for workers and the human element as well then, Peter? Is it a little bit of a myth perhaps that this kind of technology comes in to replace people and expertise? Can you tell us a little bit about I guess any kind of skepticism there might be about it? Can you kind of put that to one side for us?
Yes, sir, Richard. That's another one that I love being in meetings with 20 or 30 people, and there's a lot of concern when you say I'm going to add a PLC, or they'd like to have an HMI, a human and machine interface, a big screen that shows what's going on. Well, we do that through a programmable logic controller, right? But we say in our team, PLC is not a 4-letter word. They don't want to do PLC programming. We do it for them. So we invest in training, and we train the trainer. Train individuals, as you know, pay for themselves, and it far surpasses the training costs. That's the same for automation. And that's why we have a lot of business in crane upgrades and modifications. Automation absolutely reduces the operating cost. Time is money. And I mentioned about stacking steels and tracking it. And the operators don't have to worry about where it goes when they press the button. They're working on something else. So it's like when computers came in. I mean, I remember in my day having computers on my desk, and people called me a tube sitter. And I go, what? And when computers started coming in, people are saying, oh, it's going to take away all their jobs. It just multiplied the amount of jobs we have. And look at us. I'm looking at you guys in England. I'm in Wisconsin, and here we are talking about automation. I think the technology and the way we have risen to the occasion has actually increased the jobs and increased the opportunities for people.
Yeah.
How much of what you're doing, Peter, is you mentioned upgrade there, I think, and how much of what you're doing is retrofit versus new install? And is one easier than the other from your standpoint? It feels to me that you're obviously, it would be easier to work on a new build and automate it from the ground up. I could be wrong in that. You can correct me if I am. But how do you what does that mix look like in terms of percentage and how different each kind of end user project might be?
Well, we all love new business. We all love new technology. This year we had a brand new opportunity with a customer. Our channel partner was dealing with an end customer that was building a brand new building. And we were all excited about doing the automation controls for this overhead bridge crane. We don't build the cranes, we just do the controls for it. 3 months later with COVID, the company came back and said, we're not building the building. So we didn't have the new bridge crane to do the whole new thing.
Okay.
But there are so many industries out there that have cranes that are old, that need repair, that need modifications. And so what we came up with is try to look at a technology that just doesn't work with Magnetech drives or CMCO hoists. It works with everybody's technology. So they can go in and upgrade and, for example, off-center pick. Guy or Richard, have you ever been on a factory floor where they've gone to pick up something and it swings into somebody?
Yes, I have.
It's
I
horrible.
haven't seen it swing into anybody, but I've seen that load swing, and it's a scary thing to behold.
It is.
Uh,
It is. And we want to prevent injuries, of course. So we had a customer on the west coast of the United States, San Diego shipyards, and they were trying to pick up large loads for the shipping industry that were swinging and smashing and breaking things, causing ropes on the drum to be ruin the drum. It was so bad. But they were trying to use a laser to align the unit so it was completely centered underneath the hoist and the bridge. So when they lifted, it wouldn't swing. Fog, sunlight, it just wouldn't work. So super easy tilt sensor. And there's so many sensors out there that are now, that's a whole big, almost a revolution in regards to automation, is using sensors on everything. And through our drives and PLCs, we can monitor them. And so this tilt sensor basically looks, and when a person has a radio control, they're far away from it. There's a light system on the top that says, am I centered? And it will not let you lift unless it is centered. So that, when we had the operators work on it, because a lot of operators are way older than me. I'm not kidding you. The aged workforce in this industry is something that I would almost say is helping automation advance in some of these industries.
That's a very valid point.
So, I mean, that's just one example I wanted to share with you guys.
So those lift sensors, I mean, is that different to a gyroscopic module?
A gyroscopic module. I don't know. I've never used one in our team. Maybe our team has used one.
Okay.
That's a good question.
I just know that there are some like spreader beams out there that now have these gyroscopic technology to help control the load and stop it rotating. And of course, you've got riggers and doggers sort of as you alluded to in the path of these heavy loads.
Sure.
Could be up to 1,000 tons, and you don't want that swinging into people. So there's the big health and safety aspects of that, and prevent expensive accidents.
This is a follow-up on that guy. The lifting is one thing, where it's off center. The operator's doing the best to say, oh, it looks centered, but they're only on one side of this unit. So when it swings, it could cause a lot of damage. Once it's in the air, we have what's called sway control software. And that's an art form. And there's a lot of things that go into it. And people talk about it, and we're really good at it in our company. So when you're moving a load and you want to go as fast as possible, Richard said, how fast can you go? Well, if you have a radio control, or if you're walking with a tethered hoist, there's a certain speed that you can't go faster than the person walking, right? But if no one's walking with it, how fast can the drive move this thing safely, right? So that's where we optimize. And when the load gets there, if it's swinging, they have to wait for it before it can lower, and we don't want that to happen either. So our sway control software gets it to a certain point, and then they could lower it, and that can be done automatically.
Okay.
To what extent are these systems then, Peter, evolving with facilities as they go up in capacity, maybe change the load, change the throughput and that kind of thing? Is there an automation to that, or is that a case of end user, dealer, and you guys all coming together periodically? How does the continued improvement of best practices work in the automation sphere?
Well, there is a Japanese word for continuous process improvement. It's called Kaizen. Maybe you've heard of that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's looking at continuous process improvement and how is that going to work. So one of the best things to do is to work really closely with our end user and our channel partners to understand what is their critical process. What are they trying to accomplish? How can we help them improve this process? And put controls in place to totally prevent it from happening again. That's when you define the problem and analyze it, that you put controls in place, it won't ever happen again. One of the things you talked about earlier when you were talking to me, it was about Industry 4.0.
Yeah.
And our lift and hoist industry revolves industry 4.0, or the industrial IoT 4.0.
Indeed, IoT, yeah.
Yeah, it revolves around lifting and motion control products and systems being connected. And I'm just going to keep emphasizing the connectivity, just like your blog, connecting your listeners to us. Data is information. IoT is interconnected devices, cloud computing, artificial intelligence. And when we have a beta site of this customer that's using this connectivity, they're monitored. They have that crane monitored, and they're learning from it, and they're duplicating that in another factory. Are you up to speed on Industry 5.0?
I would like to say a resounding yes, but I would be lying to you.
It's the year 2021. 10 years from now, Industry 5.0 is going to make this big headline, but we're trying to put a splash in place here. It's basically the human mindset to the industrial framework. Richard's point, increased speed and efficiency. It's one of the things that's lacking globally is environmental improvements.
Yeah.
And we are looking at that. I mean, I'd say sad to say that, that's, people don't look at that as closely as we should, and we're working on that in our company. We actually have formed green teams. I can tell you about that later. But collaboration, intelligent machines, working with human hands, it sounds, some people get scared of it, some people embrace it. And what we do is we act as an in between to say, well, it's like, how do you accomplish something? Inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it's too hard. So we work in these improvements continuously, and then they all of a sudden start seeing the benefits, and it's good for everybody.
I mean, I do understand and completely get the connectivity side of things, and I mean that's what I think is probably so revolutionary and interesting about automation and the way I believe it's going is that the machine can talk with the software, vice versa. If a part is on its way out, the machine can automatically order another one. Hence speeding up the process, preventing accidents, and something you've just touched upon, making the operation leaner and hopefully greener too. And that is something that we spoke about a few podcasts ago. And I mean, I shouldn't say we, I speak personally here. I find it quite embarrassing, really, that our industry, considering how many other industries it touches,
sure,
nearly as green as it should or could be.
This past year with the pandemic, we concentrated on two markets that were always going to continue. One was hydropower. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of automation in hydropower. If you look at some of these dams across the world, they produce a lot of electricity. And the turbines are bigger than our house, okay? And the cranes have to go in there during a repair operation. They have to pick up this turbine. But also on the dam, we have gantry cranes that we use our automation to lift the gates to allow the certain flow, or to actually have a crane and a hoist that picks up logs or something that's jamming. And everyone needs electricity. The other industry is waste to energy. And the amount of green thinking in that industry is unreal. And people don't realize that when they bring their garbage to the end of the driveway or to their street and someone comes and picks it up, what do they do with it? And our customers take it and they have to somehow, I don't know if you've ever seen a waste energy operation, it's, first off, you got to change your clothes before you get back on the airplane because you smell and people are looking at you. I mean, it's smelly, it's dirty. But in this operation, they'll pick up the garbage, they got to fluff it, they pick it up, they move over to an incinerator, it burns it, and the steam produces electricity. And the byproducts are used for all sorts of things, agricultural. It's not waste. And some of the heavy metals, then they recycle. That's a fun job. Most of them are, I'd say, semi-automated, but there's companies out there that are saying we need a fully automated process, and we're working on that right now.
Here's an interesting fact that I got from a Christmas cracker.
Okay.
A bit random and on offline, but apparently by recycling one tin can, you save enough energy to power your television for 3 hours.
Wow. Wow.
There you go.
One tin can.
So that is a hopefully an interesting but useless piece of information for this podcast. So I mean, something I want to go back to or really clarify it a bit more is the workforce side of things, labor. I mean, we're moving away from traveling cabs and gantry cranes, factory cranes, hall cranes, whatever you want to call them, now being operated from the floor or further distances. So you're not going to need someone in that traveling cab. I mean, where are these jobs coming? What are the next sort of jobs coming on board in this kind of automation drive, Peter? Where can you see the the employment here?
That's a great question too, Guy.
Sorry, I put you on
the last cab crane I saw had nobody in it. And it's working, right? I mean, but there's on the crane, and by the way, we call those Star Wars chairs, and we sell these to customers, and they got the joysticks, and the operator can do so many things. And one of the things we looked at was operator fatigue and operator safety, and how can automation prevent that? This is where the human element comes back in, and I was talking about the human 5.0, industry 5.0, the human integration, right? But automation simply takes the manual tasks and makes them easier to do. It's not replacing them. And we work with our customers to design automation to assist the operators in overload situations. Automated systems can reduce the risk of accidents, right?
Yeah.
We help avoid and prevent work injuries. And so I just know that we believe that when we say what's up, safety, uptime, and productivity, those are the key driving factors within the automation. And as you can see, why do we want to be safe? Well, we want to be safe so you and I can go home the same way we got to work, okay? And as safe and as good as can be. We also want to increase the uptime of our facility because when we talked earlier, I talked about downtime. And what's a great question that you guys can ask every one of your listeners: how much is downtime? How much does it cost for unscheduled downtime? And so we're looking at, we're taking the human element. It's not just that we're not making the airplane anymore. The 5 bridge cranes that are synchronized that have these huge airplanes moving them. It's the operators that are standing around doing nothing. So it's the associated costs. And we've heard anywhere from 400 to 500 or more a minute.
Wow.
Well, multiply that out. 24 times 24 hours times 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I'll make the math easy for you, Guy. If it's $400 a minute, it's $4 million a week. If it's $600 a minute, it's $6 million a week. I know that's not UK.
No. That would keep the Bridger House boys in beer, wouldn't it, Rick?
Yeah, we'd do all right, wouldn't we?
That's right. So what we do is, you're talking about if something does go down or if something has a problem, people always talk about, well, let's replace the drive, let's replace the brake, let's replace the contactor. Many of our customers are, when they put this huge cabinets on top of these large bridge cranes, 100 tons or even less than that, but I mean, they have this whole control cabinet system on the bridge crane. If it goes down, if something happens, you're going to try to troubleshoot it and figure out which drive to replace, but if you have spare panels, we have customers now buying spare panels from us, which is great. So you duplicate a job, their downtime at $500 a minute, they replace the panel and put the new panel in. And I'm not kidding you. They thank us.
I'm sure they do. I mean, we're all becoming less patient in this day and age, aren't we?
and they're
And
people.
Peter, when sorry to interject, when you use the word customers a lot, I just want to
Yeah,
press you on that if I can.
yeah.
What's in your mind and your colleagues' mind when you're saying that? Are you thinking distributors and end users collectively? Are you thinking of the end user application? What's in the mind of your team when you're specifically envisaging your customers?
Within Columbus McKinnon, we sell hoists and cranes and hooks and chains, and then we sell complete control solutions for automation or controls of really highly complex processes. My customers are channel partners. Okay, so that's the channel partner, and that's the customer who builds the crane. The end customers, and you're probably right, Richard, I should say channel partners all the time. The channel partners are the ones who say, hey, here's the money for this job. We're doing a dam job, and the Army Corps of Engineers is actually the end customer on some river dam. So that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, and 100%. It wasn't a lack of clarity on your part. It was I just thought it was. I just wanted to press you on it because of that nuance of that supply chain. So just another question on that, then, if I can. How much are you actually dealing directly with the facilities guys and the purchasing decision makers at end users? Is that different in every installation or in every case, or do you try and follow a model?
Well, within automation, we try to follow a model, and we do work through our reps and our sales channel that go to the channel partners, and the channel partners deal directly with the end users. Many times we're on a meeting just like this, where the end user's there, the channel partner's there, the rep's there, with our training webinars, or with our, hey, they're thinking about automating the system. And I first ask them why. Start with why. Why do you want to automate? And then we say, well, how do you want this to accomplish? And then what are you trying to achieve? And our starting with why is the core to our team. It's understanding that why. Does that answer your question, Richard?
No, it does 100%. Yeah, it does. And I guess as well, you have to therefore manage those relationships and have forge incredibly tight connections with those channel partners, don't you?
I'd say it's the most difficult part of my job and our team's job is we work with the rep, we have the channel partners, they work with the end user. The end user says, here's this job, this project. Sometimes these are 500 pages of details that we have to now go ahead and bid on this job. We have to provide a quotation. They receive the quotation. We win it, thumbs up, and then we have to produce the drawings, and then we submit it, not to the channel partner, it goes to the end user. But we're always there at the right time. I'm not kidding you. We've been doing so well with that. It's just understanding the end user, working through our channel partner, which I collectively call lovingly our customers.
I've just caught the time, chaps, and unfortunately we are running out of it. Sorry, but what I would like to ask you, Peter, is, and don't worry, we won't hold you to this. We will be inviting you back, I am sure, but I mean, hopefully you and I will be on a sunny beach somewhere in 10 years' time.
Excellent.
But where do you think we will be as an industry in 10 years' time? What does the future hold for the lifting industry with automation going the way it is currently?
Automation is going to free up a lot of other things, and we're going to come up with unbelievably new technologies compounded from the advantages that automation gives. And I can see that happening across multiple industries, not just the lift and hoist industry. Okay, I mean, I know we have the smart cranes, we have the smart hoists, smart operations, the smart connectivity, no-fly zones, off-center pick, collision avoidance. People don't want to get hurt. People don't want to cause an unscheduled downtime, and people want to improve productivity to better the world. And I think that's our goal, is to better the world through our technology.
Rich, anything in closing?
I only just to reiterate what I said at the start, Guy and Peter, which is I think this industry needs to do a better job of selling itself to kind of young people. And I think, look, Peter's spoken eloquently, not just about his company and the principles that he lives and works by, but he's also done a very good job of selling our industry, which if we can do nothing else on Lifting Lowdown, I certainly feel that we're duty bound to do that. So I think that positivity and that promotion of our industry sector is a very good point to finish.
What was it that Tad Dunville said a few episodes back?
It's a good question. He nearly swore, I know that, and he just stopped himself. And I think it was a guest had suggested that perhaps young people would rather work with computers than they would in the lifting industry. And I think Tad set out to debunk that myth, I think. And it'd be worth
one of the greatest video games could be having the young person operate a lift and hoist, right? And we're trying to pick a rabbit or a bunny out of a big thing with those crane things. But production can be expensive, okay, if it's not monitored. So let's know that if you know your high value process, your high value problem, we'll pay as much attention to common manufacturing costs as our channel partners and end users to solve their problems for them, increasing their bottom line. I think it's fun. It is a fun industry to be in. Our team is smiling, and hope that we continue to do that for the next 10 years.
I'm sure, and ultimately you can't stop the march of progress, of course. And this is
want to.
No, indeed, this is the way we're going. Look, on that note, I'm going to leave it there, I'm afraid, chaps. But Peter, we will invite you back, so hopefully you'll be amenable to that. And thank you very much for your time and your insights today. Maybe next time round we can start drilling down into some specifics and get even more techie about it and bring someone else on as well.
My sincere pleasure. Yeah, there's way smarter people than I am. I'm telling you, we could really get this going.
Well, certainly a lot smarter than me. Rich, thank you once again for coming on, mate. It's always appreciated.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. It's been a pleasure, and I'll thank Peter for his sentiments, and wish everyone a happy New Year once again.
Indeed, happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. You guys are great.
Guys.
Thank you.
Be safe. Thank you very much, guys. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
A big thank you to Peter and Rich for coming on to Lifting Lowdown and kicking off the new year with this far-reaching topic. I really enjoyed hearing about some of the aspects driving the automation of our industry and smart crane and hoist technology. Whether it's a need to perfect precision, improve health and safety, or increase uptime, there can be no doubt our industry is facing huge technological changes. It is exciting to consider what the future holds for equipment, processes, manual tasks and the sector at large. Something I took away from this is our industry's ageing workforce could actually be propelling the need for automation itself. With new developments, hopefully there will be new job opportunities for incoming lifting professionals, but there can be no suggestion that our sector, like most, is not embracing advances and progress. I guess you can't stop the march of the machines. It's simply evolutionary and a logical step forward. Or, going back to Kaizen, the Japanese term Peter mentioned, which translates as change for the better or continuous improvement. If you would like to learn more about automation and what it means for the lifting sector, we have included some links for further reading on the subject. As ever, feel free to leave comments or fire over questions if you have any. Your feedback and suggestions for future editions will enable us to make this podcast even more relevant and interesting. You can keep up to date with the latest industry news by visiting LHI's website liftandhoist.com. Thanks for listening, and look out for the next episode in a couple of weeks. Until then, stay safe.